crystal clear water. And like I said, the water is a constant 68 degrees. Pretty awesome. All right, morning guys. Trying something a little different this morning. We're getting away from the coastal waters of the Panhandle, and we drove 30 miles north up to it's called Econfina Creek, and pretty big creek, or not big but long, and it's cold. It's spring fed, so there's a lot of springs and cold water springs, so there's a pretty constant consistent water temperature of 68 degrees. So yeah, the water's chilly. So when it's 90, 95 out, like it probably will be today, this is certainly a welcomed environment. So this is my first time down the creek in my kayak. We used to come here when we were kids and rent canoes, but it's all totally changed now from what it used to be like. I gotta get my rudder. It's not totally down. I might have to jump back there. But there are logs and whatnot going across the creek, so we're gonna have to be careful like this right here. Yeah, we cleared it. So yeah, this is and there are some small bass in here and brim as well. So we're not really coming here to fish, but just to kind of explore, check everything out. The springs are pretty cool. I haven't been here in, man, since I was early teens, or early 20s, I mean. So, you know, it's been 40 years since I've been up here on the creek. But yeah, the main thing I want to do is just get away, take a break from fishing for a day. Our last fishing trip was over to Navarre Beach and went and did some snapper fishing, bottom fishing on some reefs, near shore man-made reefs, all public numbers and stuff, but we did pretty good. Yeah, that was on Tuesday, and today is Friday, July 18th, I do believe, and it's probably 9:30, yeah, 9:47 a.m. So just gonna be a leisure day on the river today. Creek, actually. And we'll have to pedal back up, obviously. They rent canoes here where they rent you a canoe and you go down pretty good ways. There's two bridges. You can either just go to the very first bridge, which is not very far, it's right here, and hang out and play and do whatever, or you can go on down to the next bridge. But either one, they'll pick you up, pick the kayak or canoe up. I think they rent kayaks as well, and bring you back. So you just have to be mindful of that. And it drug us right into the most shallowest part of it, of course. So you have to be careful. You don't want to rip your pedals. You don't want to rip your pedal drive off or bend it or anything like that. So just have to be mindful of that. But yeah, I figured this would be a cool little trip. Something different. Just do a little bit of exploring. And you know, I did bring a rod, one rod and reel, and my normal plastics. I don't have any freshwater stuff, but if we feel like it, we throw a little jerk bait around. But so there's so many down trees and stumps and logs and whatnot. It's be pretty hangy, and it's a pretty good flow. And before we get too far down here a bit, I just want to turn around and see. The river's not super fast flow, but it flows pretty good. I just kind of want to spin around and see what kind of current we will be dealing with on the way back. Oh yeah, so it's going to be definitely going to be you can see we're not moving real fast on the way back up, but it'll be doable as long as you don't travel too far. And which we're not. We're probably there's a couple springs along the way. It's about as far as we're gonna go. But it's a long creek, and like if we used to come down here as kids and rent canoes and, you know, load the cooler up full of beer and off we would go for the day. And then of course they'd pick us back up and bring us back up. So we didn't pedal back upstream or paddle. Back then it was just canoes and paddling. So this is kind of a new experience for me. None of this was here when I was a kid. And like I said, it's 40 years ago. Some private property there. All of this is generally private property. There is some small sections up here that's owned by the water management, and they've got, you know, some little parks and canoe launches and lookout areas. How you doing, Pup? What you doing, buddy? But yeah, just figured we'll just get back to nature a little bit today. Just kind of have a relaxing day on the creek. Hopefully we don't run any logs over. damage our pedals. So, but we just have to be careful. That's all. There's a lot of deer up here. Hogs. Gators. Snakes. All the typical Florida wildlife. Guess that's another canoe launch area. But I found a couple. They do have a couple. The water management has a couple of areas, recreation areas. But I don't have where you can launch canoes. But I don't have a cart, so you can't back down to the water's edge. So back there where we used to rent the canoes at, that's privately owned. And I went in and talked to the guy, and told him I had my own canoe, and would it be possible for me to, or kayak, would it be possible for me to back down to the water's edge and offload it? And yeah, for a fee, $15. I think it was reasonable. So for $15, I was able to back up to the water's edge, unload the kayak, and get on our way. Yeah, there's rocks, limestone, I'm guessing. Not sure exactly what it is. This is the main creek. I'm not sure. This might lead up to a spring or something. But we'll throw it up. Make a cast. I see some canoes up there, so it must be another one of those water management areas where you can, little recreation area where you can launch a canoe, but again, you got to have a cart. Or drag your canoe over rock and sand and gravel and eventually a boardwalk. I don't think there's any big bass in here. It's mostly small stuff. Some brim. A lot of small brim. So this 5-inch jerk shad may be a little bit too big for what's in here. But again, I'm not here to really fish. I'm just kind of relaxing, taking the tour. This is one of those spots that it's becoming more popular, but you know, your typical tourist, Florida tourist, has no idea this is even here. You know, we're 30 miles due north of the coast, where everybody goes. We're out in the middle of the woods. So, you know, I'm sure it does get some beach tourists, because I'm sure this canoe rental place has brochures and whatnot, and the hotels out there. I don't know how much business they get from that or not, but they had, there was a few cars in the parking lot this morning. But again, that could just be locals, you know what I mean? I don't know how touristy it is. Just as you can see, it's Friday morning, and you know, there's no one in sight. Yeah, so we're coming up on one of the management areas here. This is where I first went. Thought I might be able to back up to the water's edge and launch, but that's impossible. They have it blocked off probably 30 or 40 yards that way, where you can't back a vehicle down in here. They have a little parking lot up there. But actually, this is not even it. So this might be private property here. I'm not sure. You can hear the highway up here. So we're not, yeah, I think I see it up there. When I pulled in there, there was a family, 5 or 6 adults and some kids were tubing. So they had inner tubes, and that was pretty popular back in the day as well. Kids didn't have the money to rent a canoe or whatever, you could just come up here with a inner tube out of a big truck or whatever, and use that and float down. And then, yeah, it's private property. And you know, to tie you an extra inner tube to your inner tube for the cooler, stick your cooler inside the other inner tube and have your drinks with you. But back in the day, none of this, they didn't have these recreation areas here. It was just, you know, back up to the water and throw your canoe or kayak or inner tubes in and park on the side of the road. That's all changed now. I was totally unexpected to see what I seen once I got here. I thought, yeah, I just drive up there, drive down to the water, you know, throw the kayak in and park like we used to when we were kids. But nah. So that's these guys in front of us. They come from the canoe rental back here behind me. So we should be coming up on the bridge here pretty quick. And just I believe there's a spring just before we get to the bridge. If I remember. Son of a... we just broke her. Damn it. Just broke a shaft, I think. Maybe not. I didn't even... That's kind of what I was worried about. No, it didn't break. Just pretty good current. Just felt like it, man, that's kind of what I was scared about. Yeah, no damage, but certainly a possibility. Again, you know, there's another log there. That must have been a rock. Yeah, if we were to damage that, getting back up would be impossible. So here's somebody's got him a rope swing tied up. Private property there, I'm assuming. Okay, so yeah, we're coming up on one of the springs right here, and it looks pretty shallow, so I don't know. We might have to pull the pedals up and crystal clear water. And like I said, the water is a constant 68 degrees. So let's get up in here and explore and see what's going on. But yeah, as you can see, it's crystal clear water. You could, I mean, as kids, we would drink the water, was no problem. And I'm sure now, probably still drinkable. We did see some small brim back there. Again, crystal clear, some brim. I don't know how well the camera picks any of that up, but some small brim, nothing big. a small brim there. I've never been up in here. As a kid, we just went straight down the creek to different springs. So this is a new area for me. It looks like there's a pretty good gathering up in here. And this is probably part of the water management recreation area. And
oh, yeah.
Pretty nice.
You look like Bigfoot. There you go.
Yep, pretty awesome. All right.
Oh, you ready? Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. All right, wait.
Lisa, you gotta be the one.
Take one big breath.
You guys want me to take a picture? Yes. Okay. That means you gotta get out.
All right, I'm not sure. I guess maybe the other side of that bridge is where the spring, one of the many springs, is at. And once we get to the other side of the bridge, to a couple of the bigger springs, if it's what it was when I was a kid, you can get right up to where the spring is coming out of the ground. So that'll be pretty cool to see again. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it or will enjoy it. Like I said, it's just something different. Get away from the hot direct sun on the bay. Take a little fishing break. And get up here and explore a little bit. Not going to be any exciting drag ripping redfish or trout or red snapper or amberjack or anything like that, but certainly a relaxing little, and it's pretty deep out here, you know. It has its shallow spots, but You know, out here in the middle, it's, you know, probably over your head. If you get hot, you just jump into the 68-degree water. It'll cool you right down. Trust me. You'll be shivering. Razor wire there. Private property, no trespassing. That razor wire, I guess people probably used to get up there and dive off. We had to put some razor wire up there to keep everybody from climbing up there. Some little minnows sitting at the top of the water there. One of the other water management areas.
Morning.
How you doing?
Good.
So yeah, there's the bridge right here, other side of this little island, and that was the first place I went to try to launch. And like I said, that was impossible unless you got a cart. And it is a designated yeah, would require a cart to launch your canoe there. And all this is part of this water management as well. And I've seen this creek up over the bridge, impassable. They had to put cones out on, a ways to keep traffic from entering. So the creek does rise. And we used to dive off of this bridge, jump. And right here is where we could drive down too. And this was a little party area right here. And you could drive right down to the water's edge. And that's what I was figuring on doing this morning. But like I said, that has all changed. I had no idea. And I drove over here too. And it's possible to launch there. But there's a sign saying no canoe launching, use canoe launch. So, like I said, I could have launched from there, but I decided against it, and I knew about the canoe rental place. I didn't know if it was still there. So I figured if I could go speak with those people that they would allow me to launch. And they did. Like I said, it was $15. And I gave them a $5 tip. So it cost me $20 to launch, which is fine. Alright, so that's Highway 20. We're on the other side of the bridge. Not far, there's a couple of springs. One of them, I think you got to go up in a little canal like we just did. I'm not exactly 100% sure where it's at, but I think we'll see it. I could look on my phone, on my maps. And then down a little bit further from that is a spring, and it's right on the creek. So you can't miss that one. And then also, I don't think we'll go that far down just because we got to pedal back up. There's an area where the side walls are just solid rock. Got to go up probably 30 feet, if I remember correctly. And you're down in a canyon and just solid rock wall on both sides of you. That's kind of neat to see. But again, I don't think we're gonna go that far down the creek because we got to pedal back upstream, and that's going to be a little bit of a workout. I think we'll go as far as these two or three springs right here, and that'd probably be about as far down the creek as we'll travel. clouding up a little bit. Might get some rain. I wonder if that goes up into one of those springs. I think it may. And as kids, we used to come up here not deer hunting, but squirrel hunting. Mom would drop us off on the side of the road, and we would pack all of our camping gear into the woods, set up camp, and camp out for a couple of days and just hang out on the river and shoot squirrel. I think this is going to lead up into a spring. Not sure. I'm sure it is. Water's super clear. Sand bottom for the most part. There's some bass or something hitting the top of the water. There's a little brim there. Oof. Yeah, we might cast around in here a little bit. See if we can't get us a small bass. There's a bass right there. Small guy. hear fish hitting the top of the water. This is a 5-inch jerk shad. It's probably a little bit big for anything in here, but you never know. We'll cast it into the trees and see if we can't catch a squirrel. Thinking this is all private property, you know, on the shore. Yep, private property. I mean, obviously the water isn't, but most of this land is privately owned. Pretty deep. It's, I'm guessing, probably 8-10 feet. There's a nice bass right there. Wasn't interested. Hanging out in the logs right there. I don't know if you guys could see that or not. Probably a little 1-pound bass or something. There he is right there. Straight out there. Let's see if we can. Nope, he's not interested. You can see how crystal clear the water is. I don't know where the spring comes up at. Big school of brim right there. Small brim. Some more small brim over there. A lot of brim. So that's a nice little swimming area here. Again, all, you know, private property. As long as you don't get out of the water, you're fine. So this must be the spring right here. Yep. Well, let's get up here and see if we can. Oh yeah. The water's flowing out from the ground. Right up here. Like I said, there's springs all throughout down the creek here. Some bigger than others, some small like this. But you can see the water just bowling out right there. But it's cold, 68 degrees is the norm. Pretty consistent. And are we on top of this little rock right here? Or not little rock, big rock, but there, we're off it now. Alright, pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Lots of brim everywhere. So little small bass there on top of the water, but tons of brim right there. Nice sized brim there. That's eating sized brim. More there. Oh, big bass right there. Damn, that's a nice fish. 2 of them. Sitting right there. Alright. Get out here to the main creek and continue our journey. One of the big springs is just around the corner here. It's called Emerald Springs. I think this might be Gainer Spring. And then there's another spring not far, I've never been to. Just seen it on the map, and it's called McCormick Spring. But up here to Emerald Spring is one of our old party spots. and there's a little bit of, we would get up here and dive, jump. Even though it was private property, we were kids, we weren't hurting anything, we were just getting up in there and diving off. So yeah, this is Emerald Spring here. Like I said, we would get up here and dive off into the spring. It's pretty deep where the spring comes out. You know, this is shallow over here. Everybody would just kind of hang out here in the water with our canoe and drinking and partying, and you can see they still do it. There's a little trail right there. You can get up out of the water, climb up there, come over here and jump right in. You can see the water rushing out of there. And that's, you know, it's probably 15 feet deep there. Crystal clear. Pretty amazing. Super cold water. I would not be afraid to drink that right out of the, you know, coming right out of the spring right there. You know, it's underground, coming right out of the aquifer. And like I said, we would all just, that'd be, you know, on the weekends especially, just a bunch of 20, 30 canoes right here. Everybody just hanging out, partying, having a good old time. Somebody left their towel up there. We'll step out here and whew, that is cold. Yes, sir. Chilly, chilly. We're waist deep right here. Man, that is cold. Let's see if we can get over here to the spring. Oh my God. Yes, sir. We're getting chest deep now. Holy moly, that is chilly. Let's see if we can get up on this rock here. It's slimy. It's got algae on it and got holes in it. get in there and twist an ankle for sure. All right, we're gonna just okay. There we go. That's right where it's coming out of the ground. There's a rock down here. I don't know if I can reach it. Oh, yeah. Here we go. I'm going to put the camera under and see. I don't know how it'll turn out. It's probably too much current. But look it up. It is cold. Deep too. I can't touch the bottom. There we go. Now we can touch. Right. Refreshing for sure. Little decent sized brim. Oh, we're stopped here. I'm gonna get a swig of juice. Yep, still got a rope swing right there. I got a banana. I'm gonna eat a banana too. Oop, big spider. Get off the kayak, buddy. Go. Get out of here. I don't want you. I don't want you. Let's load up. Yeah, that's another thing we would do too. We would, like once we got here, we'd normally bring a watermelon with us. You just throw the watermelon in the water right there, and it was good to go. Be nice and cold. Clean my hands. Yes, good clean. And there's another spring right here. I've never been to it. We just always go right here. and back at the bridge. But mainly here, and then we would just continue on down the creek to the next bridge, and that's where they would pick us up at. Bunch of brim. There's a nice bass. 3 of them. 3 nice bass. 4, 5, 6. 6 nice bass. Man. There's 2 more bass right there. Man, a lot of bass up in here. Small brim. More brim. Tons of brim. Brim everywhere. More brim. Good sized brim there. Nice bass. Uh-oh. We cleared it. Decent bass right there. Nothing huge. I don't know how far back up in here this goes. Little small bass there. This might be the end of it here. Looks like maybe the spring right over here. Yep. Smaller spring right there. Just water coming right out of the ground. Just a big hole in the ground. We got it pushing sand and sediment out of there. A couple little fish swimming around in there. Pretty awesome. I'm pretty sure this is called McCormick Spring. All right, I think we're going to work our way back up to the launch area and then load up. And then there's another spring. I won't be able to put the kayak in, but we can drive there. It's also part of the water management district. And called Blue Springs. And it's a big spring. So we'll go get a look at that. That'll close out our day there. It's going to take us a little minute or two to get back up creek. I don't know how long we've been. What was it? It was about 9:45 or something like that when we first got launched. It's 11 now, 11:01. We spent an hour and 15 minutes getting down here. I'm not sure how long it'll take us to get back. upstream.